Hi everybody, it's Monica with American English with Monica. When we're talking to someone in English or when we're writing a letter to someone, we often, as a sign of respect, we put a title before their last name. But how do you know which one to use? There are so many options. And if you use the wrong title, it can be offensive. You can insult a person and they haven't even read your letter yet. So it's important to know the difference and to use the correct one. Okay? We'll start with when you know the person's gender. If you know it is masculine, if it's a man, the most simple title, the most common title is simply Mr. That's it. MR. That's the only one you need to know if you know the gender of the person is a man. Mr. This comes before a person's last name. Get my lid off here. So the title comes before their last name, okay? Mr. Smith. I will say that I teach American English, okay? So this punctuation mark that we call a period, or a dot, this is an American thing. If you're studying for a Cambridge test and you need to write a letter for the exam, which is very common, if you're using British spelling, you won't have that period there. The British form doesn't use it. But if you're using American spelling throughout your exam, you'll want that punctuation mark in place, okay? Okay, so we talked about if it's a man, you know it's a man, you know their last name, Mr. Smith. Okay, that's clear. What if it's a woman? If you know the gender is feminine, you know it's a woman that you're writing to or addressing, what one do you use? This is important to know. Let's start with Miss. First of all, it's not an abbreviation, so it is wrong to have a period after this word. I see it sometimes, and that's wrong. Okay, it's a full word, not an abbreviation. No period necessary. No period required. Miss Smith. This word is used for young girls, young women, and historically for women that are not married. And this next abbreviation is short for mistress, which is a word that means something completely different nowadays. But when this started, it was to address women who are married. MRS, period. So historically, unmarried, married, woman. Well, how do you know? This title can be used for a woman regardless of her age if she was ever married. Maybe her spouse passed away. Maybe she's divorced. Maybe you're guessing and you don't know if someone is married or not married. So you don't want to use the wrong title. It can be insulting. Okay, so the solution, the easiest solution that's very modern in business in America now is this third choice. This is what you want to write in your letters when you're writing to someone who you know their gender is a woman. Okay, when you're addressing someone by their last name, the way to pronounce this is with a Z. Ms. So I am Ms. Collier. Okay, if you're writing to Ms. Smith. Okay, so again, you will still hear these titles, but they're very antiquated. And you can be insulting and it's old-fashioned and you don't look modern. You don't look like you know what you're talking about. If you write a letter to me that says Miss Collier or Mrs. Collier, I don't prefer either one. My marital status is not public knowledge. Usually in the form of business, we don't know. And since the men have a title that doesn't indicate whether they're married or single, divorced or widowed, the women now do as well. It's been around for over 100 years, but it's being used more and more in modern day American business. And I encourage all of my students to use it. Ms. Okay? When you're talking to someone, though, we wouldn't say Mr. typically, or Ms. or Mrs. We would say Sir, if it's a man, and Madam, if it's a woman. If we're talking to someone and we need to show respect, but we don't know their last name or they're a new person, you would just say Sir or Madam. It's the same when you're writing a letter. If you're writing a letter and you know the person's name and you know the person's gender, then you would do Mr. or Ms. that we just discussed. If you're writing to someone you don't know their name, but you do know their gender, you would write sir for a man or madam for a woman. And again, these are both communicated verbally very often as well. The word madam can be used regardless of age or marital status. Same thing with sir. But I will tell you there is a contraction for the word madam that's quite common in some parts of America and some parts of the world. I have had students from around the world address me as the contraction. They write, dear ma'am. M-A''A''M. Ma'am. It's a form of respect. It's perfectly acceptable. It's usually, in business, it's said, it's spoken, but not written. Dear ma'am would be very odd. It's very odd to get a letter like that. I get emails, but I know it's not a native speaker if they write dear ma'am. Okay? So dear madam, dear sir, and if you know their last name, those are your choices. Okay? If you're writing to someone and you don't know their last name and you don't know whether a man or a woman will receive the letter, you can use both of these words in your salutation, your greeting. Dear sir or madam, comma. You can write out the word or in between, or you can use this punctuation mark. It's a slash. Dear sir / madam. If you don't know the person's name and you don't know the person's gender and you're writing a formal letter, okay, again, with the Cambridge exams, you might need this. If you don't know their name, you don't know the gender. There's a formal greeting for letters that is long. To whom it's long, may concern. To whom it may concern. To whom it may concern. Please note the capitalization. Every word is capitalized on this greeting of a letter. To whom it may concern. If you don't know their name, you don't know their gender. One more note I want to point out with business English or being polite in polite society, modern society, is for non-binary and transgender folks that might not subscribe to either Ms. or Mr. There's MX with the dot. It's pronounced mix. Mix Smith. It's a way to have a polite title before a last name, but if you're not, if the gender is not categorized, not specific. This usually happens when they introduce themselves. If they sign a letter like this, then you would reciprocate and write the same thing back. You won't do this unless you know for sure this is how they identify. But again, it can be very insulting to write the wrong title for anyone. Okay, so again, my name is Monica with American English with Monica. Visit my website. You can get in touch with me that way if you need help with your communication. I help people around the world with private lessons online. And if you need lessons or questions, just send me an email or visit my site and you will receive a free PDF with some really helpful information about common greetings in English. So I wish you lots of luck with your communication and your letter writing. If you have any questions, let me know and I'll see you next time. Bye.